If I think about the insurance industry, there's a lot of tenure in insurance. There's a lot of historic ways of doing things in insurance, claims, underwriting, etc. And then you have these newer entrants into the market, the startup, the app-based insurers. And some of the global brands, realize that they can try and transform, or they can do two things. They can buy these startups, or they could create a new entity within their industry that they would maneuver their customer base towards. And so, this way of trying to transform an organization's culture is huge. There are different ways of doing it. There are different approaches that have been taken. But I think that is a huge realization now, even at the people level, that you have to. This has to be an accepted way of just doing work. The future of work, and I quoted this. I think the winners and losers in the future of work are going to be how organizations enable their people to work with technology instead of technology. That really for me is kind of going to be really key for this. And people's at the very heart of it, right? We still now are not going to be able to remove people entirely from the enterprise. So we have to figure out how we can make and use the best qualities that we as humans bring, while removing the stuff that we add very little value in. And I break this down into kind of STEM and HECI. So STEM, science, technology, maths, etc. And HECI is kind of your feelings, your heuristics, empathy, sympathy, etc. It's these human characteristics that we have that is very difficult to mimic in a technology. Not so much the transactional, rules-based, data-driven type of work, which we can automate now even with technologies that are available. So
let's talk a little bit about company's objectives though, right? Because when we touch in automation space, it's got to be pain points that technology with people, or rather people with technology, will be solving. So what do you see happening out there this year, in next 5 years to come? What are the pain points we should be talking about?
Constantly looking and chasing the next shiny object, right? We struggle to help ourselves, and that's really difficult to stop doing at the moment, because we're on such an exponential growth curve of new technology and innovation. It's really difficult, A, to stay ahead, B, to not feel like you're falling behind, because technology is changing at such a rate now. So that's kind of that's an issue. It's a thing that we will need to be mindful of over the next few years, and also the breadth of technology options that are out there. You mentioned intelligent automation before, hyper automation to others. It's no longer a technology; it's an ecosystem of technologies that are all working to automate work. And I can think of 6, 7, 8 different technology types that I think are needed as a baseline in order to automate large.
Let's name them. Let's name them. So we all defined on terms here.
So I start with discovery. So let's think about process mining, task mining, communications mining. So a data-driven approach to understanding your business. There's a few technologies there. And intelligent kind of automation. If we think about RPA, OCR and image recognition, natural language processing, and any of the natural language capabilities, automated decision making, so machine learning, etc. And then conversing, so conversational AI, voice bots, chatbots, etc. And then at the back end of all of that, again, we need to really think about analytics, data and analytics workflow in order to bring all of this together. We should think about some of these technologies as not replacing entire roles. The way I see it is they are replacing tasks within process more often than not. And each of those technologies is replicating a human characteristic. And anybody who's seen me talk before, I will talk about handwork and head work. If you think about what you're doing with your hands, Irene, you generally are, you're moving your mouse, you're typing a little bit, you are doing kind of transactional type activities when you're using your hands. And, you often sit back and think about work. What am I going to do next? I might be reading something. I'll be making a decision. All of that is head work, right? It's characteristics that you are replicating. That's where your kind of AI comes into the mix. The replication of any mental activity, and all of those mental activities generally are taking place in your head. Hence the head work thing. So that, for me, they're the technologies. Now, each of those has its own ecosystem. And with each, within each ecosystem comes complexity. It is not a surprise that we keep thinking about the next big thing, the next thing that I need to be thinking about, because there's so many, even within intelligent automation, there's so many different capabilities to be thinking about. And just about every organization, I would say, would have a use for all of those things that I mentioned. Now, that usage may be this much, or it may be this much. When you add them all into the mix, I think that's when you're starting to get transformational change of work.